All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking about real music in real time for a few real people out here or out there, just like you and just like me. So, the new Steve, all right, let me put this in quotation marks. The new Steve Perry song is out. First of all, it's not new music from Steve Perry. So if you see those headlines bouncing around the internet, that is incorrect. This is a band called The Effect, and they've decided to do a reworked version of the Journey classic It Could Have Been You, which can be found on the Raised on Radio album. Now, a friend of mine this morning uh, sent me this email. He says here, I don't know if you've listened to this yet, but I'm not even sure I could hear Steve Perry's voice on it. And the comments on the video itself are like, hey, wish I could hear more of Steve Perry on this song. Other people say, yeah, definitely can hear Steve. You have to listen with headphones. He sounds great. I love this song and what The Effect did with it. And Steve Perry's contributions sounded so good. Congratulations to you all. Now, I think the first or second commenter on this had it right. Wish I could hear more of Steve Perry on this song. And my friend who sent it over to me, and this goes to this whole whatever Steve Perry does, and it's not that his voice doesn't sound good on this. If you can pick it up with your headphones, it sounds good. But if you were hoping to hear, like, maybe Steve will sing a verse and then it goes back to the lead singer for The Effect and he gets to sing a verse, and that's not what this is, right? Steve Perry is on the track, basically singing like a background vocal. That's what this is. A harmony vocal, a background vocal. And as far as what they did with the song itself, again, I would go back to the original album and listen to Steve Perry's original vocal. You know why? Because number one, It Could Have Been You wasn't a single, right? It wasn't a hit song. So this is a deep track from that classic album, Raised on Radio. And a lot of people didn't hear it when the album came out. They didn't purchase the album, but they heard all the other songs that were released to radio, like Be Good to Yourself and Suzanne, and I'll Be All Right Without You. Maybe if you go back and listen to the original, number one, you'll appreciate that, Steve Perry is the lead vocalist on the song and not buried in the mix in the background. Jonathan Cain, about a week ago, said that, hey, Steve Perry sounds like $1 million on this record. Well, he does, but you can't barely hear Steve Perry on this song, much like what happened with Dolly Parton and the duet on Open Arms, which was mostly Dolly and just a little bit Steve. And Steve did get an actual isolated vocal part on that, but it was just very little. And I think fans want a little bit more, I would think. I mean, fans, look, I've said this before, and I know people get mad at me, but the Steve Perry fans, Steve Perry could burp on a record, right? And people would go, wow, that is the best burp I've ever heard. Steve Perry sounds so good burping. I'd be like, it's a burp. And then they would get mad at me for calling attention. Like here, I'm calling attention to the fact that, number one, the original absolutely destroys this redo by The Effect. Absolutely obliterates it. Because this is trying to be kind of like pop 90s alternative sounding, because the vocalist has a certain timbre, he's got a certain sound, which really kind of goes in the sort of like Foo Fighters, Matchbox 20, maybe, I don't know, goes in that direction, maybe a little rougher than that. So and like kind of like Wolfgang Van Halen, what he's been doing, right? So you take this song which was a good melodic rock and pop song, and you toughen it up a little bit, basically, is what they did. Now, I liked this song the way it was, and I'd rather listen to a full strength in his prime Steve Perry belting out the original track off of Raised on Radio. I don't think that's an unreasonable take on this. I think people, though, build up these expectations, especially because now we live in, internet world, and we've got to have somebody out there saying that, Steve Perry has like this isn't new music. Number one, that's the first mistake. Number two, it's basically the effect with some very limited help from Steve Perry, who does this background vocal that apparently you can hear really good on headphones. My friend was saying, I don't even know if Steve Perry's on this track. I mean, you could put a number of vocalists. I could get Hugo out there. I could get my buddy Brian Cole out there. A number of people who could do a background in this and make it sound like something that Steve Perry would do. And then, of course, once you mix this, you can probably do, a few things to those vocals in the background to bring them up and make them sound a little bit more robust. If you want to get a great Steve Perry album, here it is. This is the extended version of my favorite work by Steve Perry. Of course, it is Street Talk, which is a near flawless album where you get Steve Perry in his prime singing his what off, okay? And you get a bunch of extra songs that weren't on the original cassette when it came out, or LP. There it is, Steve Perry, Street Talk, full strength. As far as the effect go here, a lot of hype, much like the Dolly Open Arms thing. And I did see a lot of sort of this downward disappointment after Open Arms came out online. People were just like, wow, I thought, Steve would get more of a part on this. And I think this is even worse because he's not getting vocal parts the way, you would think Steve Perry would get them. Steve Perry can't just be like salt and pepper on a record. He needs to be like the main course, right? I want to hear the meat and potatoes, right, of Steve Perry. And so, yeah, I'd love to hear some new material by Steve Perry. Steve Perry singing himself without any help. Maybe he's got some background vocalists, but I want him to be the lead vocalist. I don't want someone else singing the entire song and then people hyping this up as new Steve Perry music. I mean, that's just clickbait. All right, it's just clickbait. People are still wanting to hear new stuff from Steve, and this is a Journey classic. Again, my advice would be to go back and listen to Raised on Radio, right? Listen to the entire album, and you'll hear this great song in its entirety with Steve Perry singing lead vocals and getting some great background vocal assistance from people like Randy Jackson, who is a great singer, who's on that record and on the entire album for that matter, because he had replaced Ross Valerie as the bassist. And, that was really the brainchild. All of that was because of Steve Perry. So again, you want to celebrate all things Perry? Raised on Radio. And that's it. That's my real amazing take on this. I hate to say nothing burger, but this is like, what's her name? Clara something from the Wendy's commercials. She used to say, "Where's the beef?" And this is kind of like, where's the beef here? Well, I guess if you like processed meat with a little dash of Steve Perry added, this is what this remake is. So there you go. My hot take, which everybody will hate. Sorry. I'm not alone, though. Other people are saying it's like Donald Trump. Everybody is saying it. So there you have it, folks. God bless. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.